As you were speaking about Poland, it reminded me that Lech Wałęsa, our first democratic president, wanted Poland to become a second Japan. Not a proposition that you could easily defend nowadays, given that was in early 90s, and Japan still seemed to be a point of reference for many people, not any longer. And then Donald Tusk, who is prime minister at the moment, wanted to build second Ireland. And he won parliamentary elections in 2007 on that premise. Well, I'm happy that we, at the end of the day, followed our own model, and it's working, and we are pretty well off out of it. But Maciej, you poured a cold shower on innovation, if I can put it that way, which is good for the sake of the panel, because I can ask Diogo Vasconcelos from Cisco, who sits on a panel created by Europe's first innovation commissioner, Mrs. Geoghegan Quinn, the Irish commissioner, and they just came up with a new innovation strategy for Europe that was approved by the Commission yesterday. And Diogo, what I would like to ask you is the following. I mean, until recently, we used to have this idea that high-value jobs would be kept in Europe and in the United States, and low-value jobs would be taken care of by the Chinese, the Indians, and all the rest. Well, it doesn't seem to be that simple any longer. So what is the future for innovation in Europe and in the US, in your opinion?
Thank you very much, Pawel. And first of all, thank you for the invitation. I love to come to Poland because when I travel across Europe, it's very rare to feel this sense of hope, energy, and belief in the future as we found in Poland. So it's very refreshing. And yesterday, actually, and this is a coincidence, the European Commission approved the Innovation Union Plan. The Innovation Union Plan is part of the EU 2020 program, which is the growth and jobs program for the next decade. And the Innovation Union Plan was, I think it's a very bold step taken by Commissioner Geoghegan Quinn from Ireland, since it takes a more strategic approach to innovation. For many people, innovation is about just business, it's just about technology. Well, I would say that innovation is about how can we solve the most important societal challenge we face, from energy security to climate change, the surge on chronic disease, the urban rehabilitation, and food security, etc. And some of the initiatives that have been approved yesterday, I think, are very concrete and very ambitious. First initiative is let's work together in a more collaborative way, because innovation now, it's more global, it's more open, it is also more collaborative. No company, even the biggest company in the world, can innovate on its own. So innovation is about learning from the customers, with partners, working together, public and private sector, also third sector, and globally. So one thing, innovation partnerships. So Europe launched yesterday this idea of Europe Innovation Partnerships as a way to integrate across Europe different components of the innovation ecosystem, and announced the first partnership, which is going to be around the issues of health and chronic disease and aging. Second idea, which is the idea that innovation is also about public sector innovation. Public sector represents a big share of the GDP across the Western world. And even with all the measures that governments are taking, and very rightly so, in terms of fiscal discipline, it's going to be still 40 to 50% of GDP. So we cannot speak about innovation without encouraging public sector to be more innovative as well. Innovation Union is to turn EU as a hotbed for innovation, not just in business, but also in public sector. And so it's the first time that innovation is seen as a broad concept. Thirdly, it's access to capital. I mean, the big difference, I would say, between some regions of the United States and the whole of Europe, it's the lack of access to capital to those who want to create new ventures. Venture capital in Europe is still not available for people who have bold ideas. Risk is not yet tolerated. The perception about entrepreneurship and risk-taking is completely different in the US versus in Europe. In Europe, we tend to protect the old and not welcome the new. And of course, innovation, if you are talking about building new features, it's about taking risks and accepting the consequences of risk. So one of the measures of the Innovation Union plan is to ask European Investment Bank to play a bigger role. In the report I did for the European Commission, I even provoke EIB to become European Innovation Bank, because EIB is by far the biggest multilateral financial institution in the world. Nobody knows. This was a very low profile, and rightly so, based in Luxembourg, only 2,000 employees. It lends 70 billion per year, and only 20% is focused on innovation. Now, if you believe that the future of Europe is based on growth, competitiveness on this global world, we cannot be relevant, and this has to do with the previous panel, if we don't grow. We cannot grow without innovation. So European Investment Bank should focus much more on innovation, and yesterday it was announced that the EIB will scale up some schemes to invest much more on risk-sharing facility, which is a program to enhance knowledge to be transferred from university to the market, much more investment in venture capital, and also much more initiatives in terms of cross-national investments. You know, I travel across the world, and one of the countries I get to know a little bit better is Israel. And the last 20 years, it went to a very interesting process of structural change. People don't know because Israel is known by the Palestinian conflict, but not by the economic miracle. And Israel is now a startup nation because it was able to attract foreign venture capital that completely transformed this small country. And you know, there is as much venture capital invested in Israel as in the whole of Europe. And there are 120 Israeli companies on NASDAQ. And this is because the country, being so small, is not inward-looking. It's actually creating what I would call meta-nationals. And the big challenge for every country, namely for Poland, is to create companies that will be global leaders. Global leaders, and that means that could play a role because they are innovative. Another issue which is very important, public procurement. So public procurement represents around 70% of the European GDP. And public procurement means the way governments spend their money on defense, on energy, on health, etc. Now, one of the good lessons of the American innovation systems is the way public procurement is used to promote innovation. In Europe, public procurement is about buying more effectively. So better value for money. It can be also better innovation for money, meaning that we can spur innovation if we allocate a certain ratio of the money that the government spends buying goods and services, allocating this money to entrepreneurial companies that will be able to demonstrate their new products and new services. And the big lesson from the US is Small Business Investment Research Initiative. That means that you know, every major department needs to allocate 2.5% of their own procurement budgets in innovative solutions by small companies. And thousands of new products are created every year because of this. It started with defense. You know, we are now connected because of ARPANET, and ARPANET was a result of a procurement process from the defense department in the US.